So now look at what we call open pressing. So you have to use the iron and open press the joinings, the sides, right? This is how it's done. So make sure that when you are doing this, you follow the steps I am showing you. Now the reason this video is a bit long is for you to understand how these things are done, right? So you see how it is. So this is open pressing, and then you iron out properly, and then the lining, this is the time as well. You balance the lining, iron it out to lap properly. So if you have watched this video to this very point, you must have been encouraged, to do exploits in trouser making. So you iron properly. Look at how beautiful and how relaxed our trouser is on looking already. So I also iron out everything, both the back lining and this is the time as well. You iron your back pockets. So touch water on it, sprinkle water on it, and then you iron nicely. Alright guys, so I will also do the next one before we proceed to the next stage of our trouser sewing. Now, after the open pressing, you now bring your pocket, then your flap fix on the left panel, right? Please make sure it's on the left panel of the trouser. Then you measure 8 inches. That's your tape. You measure 8 inches. 8.8 inches from the trouser waist. Then you stitch 0.2 or 0.3 from there, stitch from there, stitch all through that way. So once you get to this stage, this is what it looks like. Then you open it up this way, and then you top stitch on the placket, top stitch on the placket, top stitch on the placket this way, top stitch all through that way on the placket, and then cut exact length, make it to be a bit higher. Don't go straight, make it to be a bit higher there. You see how I place my scissors, and then you bring the right panel of the trouser, then measure your zip point from there, notch at 7 inches this way. Then place that placket that has the zip from that notch line, from the notch line this way. Please watch, after stitching, this zip will be placed to the right, to the left panel, but this is just a temporary measure to hold it, or let's say another shortcut to do it. Then make sure that your stitching now is covering the first line you made, right? You must cover the first line you made. So stitch all through to this very point. So once you get there, you've cut your threads, you cut your thread, cut your threads, and then open it up this way. Look at the effects, right? So from there, you place the two panels to come together that way. Place the two panels, and then you stitch the curvy side first. Go in by 2 inches or 1.5 from there. Then stitch from this point. Stitch from this point. Stitch from that point. Make sure that you arrange the underneath fabric. So raise the placket up. Stitch from that point, and once you get to that point you notched, you double stitch and then end it there. Then it's advisable that you stitch it twice. Now the reason for this is to make sure that the curve is reinforced, right? So you just have to double sew it to make it reinforced. So you cut your threads in this form, put your thread, cut your threads, and after which the next to do is to align the both trouser panels together, and then you stitch at the end of the zip. Please make sure before you do this, the both trouser panels must align, then stitch at the end of the zip. Automatically now you have transferred the zip to the left panel, which is the proper position for you to fix your zip for all male trousers. So after you must have done this, you also cut a thread. You also cut a thread this way, cut a threads, and then you bring out the fabric. So look at the results of what we have. Look at the finishing of what we have. So I'm going to iron. So at this point now, the next thing to do here is to place fabric on top of this area and iron. Look at how beautiful it is, right? So you iron. Make sure you drop water and drop a fabric on top so it doesn't shine the outfit. This is very important, right? So stitch it, iron it all through this way. It flattens in this point. Look at the finishing of the clothes we are having. You see how neat mine is? So yours as well should be neater than this, or should be exactly like this. So you iron all through that way so that the zip area will be relaxed. So once you're done with that, then you transfer to the machine. The next thing we are doing now is to top stitch our loop, our belt loop. So you top stitch all along the belt loop. Make sure that you're folding. Bear in mind that the belt loop was 1.5 inches, then you double fold. So it gives you less than 0.5. And then the next thing to do now is to start cutting your belt loops. 4 inches length, and there will be 6 belt loops in this trouser. So you cut all the 4 inches length, right? And then proceed to the next stage, which I will show you as well. Alright, so the next thing to do here is to start applying or marking our belt loop positions. So you place your tape this way. So from here, you get the total distance, then get mark at point 18. You must make sure you check your waistline so you know what your waist measurement is, and then that 18 is my waist of 36. So you mark 1.5 from that 36, 1.5. Then from the side edge, you mark 1.5 inch that, 1.5, and then from here, you mark 2 inches. So this is what you also do on the other side as well, for you to get exact points, or you bring the both together and you will get it by tracing the markings, right? Tracing the markings so that you have exact positions and markings. Make sure that the pockets and the sidelines are corresponding before you can do this perfectly well. So once you are done with that, the next to do now is to position stuff, right? And then you start fixing your band. Before that, I like trimming a little bit of my band. I like trimming a little portion of my band. So trim a little portion of the band, trim it a little, all through to the very end, and then after which you are going to start fixing the band from the back. Please make sure that when fixing the band, you don't forget to insert your belt loops. So you must insert your belt loops at that point. So when fixing the band, this is what we are going to be doing. You place your belt loop underneath from the 1.5 inches you have marked, and don't forget that it's not from the waist measurement we use, right? So start from the folded point, you fix a loop. So you fix all the loops accordingly. So after stitching we are fixing the loop. So we also stitch all through the plackets this way. Then cut off the excesses alongside the zip. So this is what we will have. Cut the band. Please bear in mind that this is the right panel of the trouser that we are cutting this way. The right panel of the trouser. It's not the left panel. So we don't cut the left this way. Only cut the right this way. So once you are done with that, then you place this band this way and trace the position where it is in order to make sure that the bands are corresponding. Very important, right? Very important. Then after that, you also trim little bit of the band and then continue the sewing. So now the next thing to do here is to fold the band a little bit. Watch how I folded it. Folded the edge there. Then I am tracing where it's stopping. That placket folding. Then stitch from there this way. So once you get there, you double stitch, and then bring out your needle, press this way. So trim off this, and then at this point you raise it up by 1.5 inches or 2 inches, right? Or better still, you can use the length of the placket or the flap to trace it. So once you raise it up, you make sure you also start from that same position where you stopped initially. So you start from that position where you stopped initially, and then you continue your sewing while you do the band, right? Continue your sewing from that position. So don't forget that you need to also be putting your loops as you are progressing. So put your loops as we are progressing. 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 And then sew it to the very end. Sew to the very end. And after which you cut off the excesses that way. And then cut your threads in this form. You now come back to this very point. By that time you have straightened the placket, the band. So you stitch all through. Then don't join it. Give a little gap. That gap we are giving there is to enable us to turn this very well without much difficulty. Then notch it and then trim off the excesses there. So once you are done with that, you now fling it over the other way around, and then you work it as well from that position. Then still make sure you maintain the band folding. Still make sure you maintain the band folding and stitch to the very end. After which, cut the threads, then notch here as well, and then trim the excesses off. This will help the band, the extension to be light enough. So after you have done this now, the next to do is to hold down the band, the loops, by half an inch. You have to hold it down by half of an inch from the trouser band or the waistline. Sew the 6 of them half inch down. Sew all of them half inch down. Make sure that it doesn't exceed or surpass the loop position. So sew all through that way, and then after which you continue to the next stage. So once you have done the whole the loop stitching, then you cut off the excess, you cut off the threads, And the next thing to do now is to start fixing your band, the other band, the inner band. So place it from that direction, this way, and then you start stitching. Make sure that when you are stitching your band, you don't have to flatten it all through. You have to push it up a bit when stitching. Let me show you closely so you understand what I'm saying. So this is what I'm trying to talk about. You just make sure you have it pushed up this way. Allow the band to relax by itself. This will help you to have a relaxing band without having it to talk out or contract the band. So this is what I'm trying to say. Push it up a bit this way and then allow it to lap on its own this way. You see how I'm pushing it up? So once you are done to the end, then do the next one as well. So this is what we have. So this is what we have. So I will cut out the edges roughly, cut it out this way, and then after which I will proceed to the next one, which is my other part of the trouser, right? So look at how beautiful our band is looking already. So look at how well neatly finished. So let's do the last part of the band. So you open it up this way, then you place the band from here, place it from here, and then you stitch. When stitching, you have to push it up. Look at it, push it up, and then allow the band to relax by itself. So push in the loop underneath the band. So once you push the band, then push there, and then push the band up this way. So it can be right. It relaxes. This helps the band to relax very well. If you don't do this way, it tends to be so stiff and so relaxed when you are stitching the closing. Look at what I'm doing. So now, when you get to that end, you bring the lining, measure 7 inches or 6 inches depending, and then the length of your choice, but at least 13 inches thereabouts. Then you fold it to like 2.5 or 3 inches this way. So once you have folded that way, you iron it all through, then place it underneath the band, right? Place it under of the band, at the under of the band. So once you place it there, now the next thing to do is to stitch from here. Please watch attentively how this area will be finished, because this is the part, one of the areas that you need to understand perfectly.